This story is fictional and made only for entertainment. Any similarity to real people or real events is accidental. I have spent most of my life working with numbers. Tax filings, business statements, operating costs, profit lines. I can study a page full of figures and spot the weak point fast. That is just the way my mind has always been built. So when something in my own home started feeling off, I caught it. Not the first second it happened, maybe, but soon enough. My wife, Hannah, and I had been married for 2 years, and we had been together for 5. We were renting a small house in Oregon. It was not some beautiful dream place, just a plain 2-bedroom house near the highway. Tall Douglas fir trees stood all around it and kept out a lot of the daylight. Hannah liked that. She always said the dim light made the place feel warm and safe. I was the one paying for pretty much everything. Rent, power, water, food, car insurance, all of it. Hannah had a small online handmade shop that brought in around $700 in a good month. She sold dried flower pieces, resin crafts, and stuff like that. I never gave her a hard time about money. I believed we were working toward a real future together. At least that was what I thought. The idea was simple. We were supposed to move out of that rental house one day, buy a place of our own, have kids, and build a steady life. I also wanted to keep growing the accounting business I had started from nothing, turn it into something solid, something worth passing down someday. I believed in doing things one step at a time. That was how I had built everything else in my life. I had started with almost nothing. One client, then another, then another. After a while I had an office, employees, and regular clients who trusted me to handle their books. I was not some wealthy guy living large, but I was dependable. I was stable. I was the kind of man who showed up and handled what needed handling. That night did not seem unusual at first. I came home, warmed up whatever leftovers were in the refrigerator, and sat on the couch for a while. By the time I took my shower, Hannah had already gone to bed. Before I even opened the bedroom door, I could see the blue light from her phone glowing underneath it. I stepped inside. She did not even glance my way. Her thumb was moving across the screen fast, like she was deep in a conversation or caught up in something important. I turned off the lamp on my side of the bed and slipped in beside her without making much noise. I lay there for a little while, then I reached out to her. Nothing forceful. Nothing ugly. I just rested my hand on her shoulder. She was facing the wall with her back to me. I let my hand move down her arm slowly. She caught my wrist right away. "Not tonight, Mason." She did not turn around. She did not look at me. She just said it in a flat, tired voice, like she had already decided what she was going to say before I ever touched her. I pulled my hand back. "Hannah, can you talk to me? What is going on?" "Nothing is going on. I pushed myself too hard at the gym today. My lower back is killing me. Can we please just go to sleep? Maybe tomorrow." "All right," I said. That made 3 nights in a row. 3 nights, 3 different excuses. Before that, she had said she had a headache. Before that, she blamed stress because of a shipment problem with her store. There was always a reason ready and waiting. The thing about working with numbers is that you stop seeing random events. You start seeing patterns. And for weeks I had been watching one take shape, even though I did not want to say out loud what it looked like. I noticed the way she pulled back when I tried to kiss her goodbye in the morning. I noticed how our normal talks had turned into short answers, sometimes just one word. I noticed how her whole face came alive when she looked at her phone, then went blank the second she set it down and looked at me. I knew what distance looked like. I had seen it before in other people's marriages, never in my own. I had seen it hidden in shared bank accounts that suddenly stopped making sense. I had heard it in the careful voices of clients calling me with financial questions, when what they were really asking about was how to separate a life that was falling apart. I just never thought I would end up standing on this side of that line. I did not say anything else that night. I stayed awake until her breathing slowed and evened out and I knew she was asleep. Her phone was still loose in her hand. Then I looked across the room toward the shelf. 3 small model cars sat there in the dark, barely visible. A 1969 Mustang. A 1967 Chevelle. A 1957 Thunderbird. My father had given me that Thunderbird the year before he died. He told me it was the kind of car a man bought after he finally understood what he wanted out of life. For a long time, I thought I understood that too. Lying there in the dark, I was not so sure anymore. The next morning, I got up and found Hannah already sitting at her work table, busy with some resin project. I made coffee, poured 2 cups, and set one beside her. "Thanks," she said. She still did not look up. I grabbed my keys and told her I would be home around 7 that evening. She did not ask what I wanted for dinner. She did not ask about my day. Nothing. I got in my car and sat there for a minute before I started the engine. I am not the kind of man who freaks out fast. I am not the kind of man who jumps straight to the worst answer before I have facts in front of me. But I am also not the kind of man who ignores something that clearly does not balance. Something in my life was off, and I was going to figure out exactly where the missing piece had gone. I was not out hunting for trouble. I want that understood. I am not some jealous guy digging through his wife's private stuff just because I feel insecure. That is not who I am. But I do notice things. And once I start noticing them, it gets hard to stop. That same habit is part of what made me good at my work. You do not catch errors by staring only at the big picture. You catch them by looking close, by paying attention to details other people brush aside. So over the next few days, I acted normal. I came home at the usual time. I talked when she talked. I did not pressure her at night. I did not start fights. On the outside, everything probably looked fine. But I was watching. On the 4th day, I opened Instagram on my phone. I looked up her account. Funny thing was, we were not even following each other. The second I realized that, it hit me how strange that was for a married couple living under the same roof. Her profile looked different now. The pictures she used to have of us together were gone. There had been one from our trip to the coast. Another from a cookout at her sister's house. A few more from random days when we still looked like a couple. All erased. Now the page was nothing but her. Single photos. Mirror pictures. Gym shots. Bathroom selfies. She looked attractive in them, sure, but that was not the problem. The problem was the way she was putting herself out there. The poses, the camera angles, the whole presentation. It felt like she was showing herself to somebody specific. I kept scrolling slowly. The same few accounts kept showing up in the likes over and over again. Then one account stood out more than the others. Username, Tyler_Reed_28. He had liked every recent picture. Sometimes he had left comments too. On the newest photo, a mirror picture in workout clothes, he had posted a red heart. That comment was 3 days old. I clicked on his page. His name was Tyler Reed, 28 years old. His profile was packed with gym content. Workout clips, protein drinks, shirt-tight mirror pictures, the kind of posts made by a man who wanted attention and knew how to get it. In one of the photos, I spotted a logo on the wall behind him. It was the same gym Hannah went to 3 times a week. The same gym she told me helped her deal with anxiety. I sat there in my office chair and stared at the screen for a little while. Then I closed the application, set the phone on my desk, and leaned back. One of my employees knocked on the door and asked me about a client folder. I told him to leave it on the table near the entrance. He said all right and walked off. I still did not have proof. A man liking your wife's photos does not prove anything. A heart emoji is not evidence. I knew that. I was not stupid. But I also knew this much: numbers tell the truth, even when people do not. And the numbers in front of me were leaning hard in one direction. 5 nights of rejection at home. Her social media wiped clean of me. A younger man showing up again and again. A wife who no longer looked at me the way she once had. That is not random. That is a pattern. I finished my workday, locked up the office, and drove home. Hannah was sitting on the couch when I got home, phone in her hand, legs tucked under her. She looked up for half a second, said, "Hey," then dropped her eyes right back to the screen. "Hey," I said. I went to the kitchen and poured myself a small glass of Blanton's from the bottle I kept in the cabinet. My father had introduced me to that whiskey years earlier, back when he was still alive and we could sit together and share a drink. I stood there at the counter and sipped it slowly. Truth is, I was so distracted I barely tasted it. From across the room, I watched her. She was smiling down at her phone, then laughing to herself in that soft, private way she used to laugh with me. Seeing that hit me harder than I expected. Standing there in my own kitchen with that glass in my hand, I made up my mind. I was done guessing. I was going to find out exactly what was happening. That night, I got into bed, turned off my lamp, and lay down without touching her. I did not reach for her. I did not ask questions. I did not say a word. Hannah stayed on her phone for a while. After some time, she set it aside and shifted a little closer toward my side of the bed. A few seconds passed, then she spoke. "You are not going to try anything tonight?" "No. I am tired. Go to sleep." She was quiet for a second. Then she asked, "Are you all right? You seem strange." "I am fine, Hannah." A moment later she picked her phone back up. I kept my eyes closed. The next 2 mornings were almost identical. I made coffee. We barely talked. I left early. She had started looking at me differently, and I picked up on that right away. She was watching me now. Not asking questions, not saying much, just studying me. I kept my face calm and stuck to my routine. On the 3rd morning, I talked to Ethan before 8 o'clock at the office. He was my top guy, the one I trusted most. He knew every client, every active file, every difficult person who needed to be handled with care. I told him he was in charge for the day and only to call me if something was seriously wrong. He just nodded and said, "All right." He did not pry, and that was one of the reasons I valued him. On the way out, I stopped at a drive-thru, picked up breakfast, and ate it in my car. Then I drove over to the gym and parked about half a block away. By the dashboard clock, it was 10:50. I turned the radio off and waited. She pulled in at 11:04. Her white Civic rolled into a spot near the entrance. She reached into the back seat, got her gym bag, then checked herself in the mirror before stepping out. After that, she walked inside. I gave her 8 minutes. Then I pulled my cap down lower, got out of my car, and went in after her. The place was not crowded. It was late morning on a weekday, so there were maybe 20 people spread around the room. I headed straight to the cardio machines in the back and picked one that gave me a clear view of the free weights area. I climbed on and kept the speed low. I was not there to exercise. I was there to watch. Tyler was already there. I recognized him right away from his Instagram page. In person he looked even bigger, one of those guys who spent serious time building his body. He saw Hannah the second she came around the corner. He gave her a little nod, and she smiled back. It was not a polite smile. It was the kind of smile she used to give me. They worked out together the whole time. They stayed side by side for most of it. On a few exercises they spotted each other. At one point he stepped behind her while she was using a cable machine and put one hand on her shoulder, adjusting her posture. She did not move away. They talked between every set. Not short gym comments either. Real conversations. She laughed again and again. Twice she reached out and touched his forearm. The second time, her hand stayed there a little longer before she pulled it back. I kept my phone in my hand the entire time, holding it low and recording short clips. When they finished, they walked out together into the parking lot. I followed at a distance and stopped near the entrance. They stood beside her car and talked for a few minutes. I was too far away to hear the words. Then he pulled her toward him and wrapped both arms around her. It was not some casual quick hug between friends. It was intimate. Familiar. Then, when they separated, she leaned in and kissed him. Quick, but clear. And she was the one who made the move. I got the whole thing on video. After that, I went straight back to my car and drove to the office. The rest of the afternoon looked normal from the outside. I took 2 client calls. I handled a tax filing. Ethan and I went back and forth a few times about a new account we had picked up the week before. I never replayed the video. I did not need to. I had already seen enough. I got home around 6:30 that evening and made dinner. Nothing special. Just pasta and leftover chicken. Hannah came out of the bedroom, sat down at the table, and picked at her food. She ate maybe a third of it before saying she was not very hungry. Then she got up and went back to the bedroom before I had even finished eating. A little later I heard the door shut. Then I heard sound leaking out from her phone under the door. Probably videos. Maybe messages. I did not know, and by then I did not care. I cleaned the kitchen. I washed the dishes, dried them, and put everything away. Then I poured myself another small glass of Blanton's and sat down on the couch. The lamp threw a little light across the shelf, and I looked over at the model cars. The Mustang. The Chevelle. The Thunderbird. I had owned those long before I ever met her. Before this house. Before this marriage. Before any of the mess I was now sitting in. I finished my drink, rinsed out the glass, and went to the bedroom closet. I reached up to the top shelf and pulled down the 2 large duffel bags I kept there. I set them on the floor, open and side by side. I did not pack them that night. But I put them there for a reason. The next time she walked through that front door after seeing Tyler, I was going to be ready. The following morning, after she left for the gym, I packed both bags. I put in my clothes, my important papers, my passport, the bottle of Blanton's that was still half full, and every one of my model cars, each wrapped in t-shirts so they would not bang against each other. I packed the Thunderbird last. Then I zipped both bags shut, set them by the front door, and sat on the couch to wait. She came home at 12:43. I heard her key turn in the lock. Then the front door opened. Then I heard her gym bag hit the floor in the hallway, the same way it always did. She never hung it up. She always dropped it right there against the wall. A second later she walked into the living room and stopped. I was sitting on the couch in my coat, and both duffel bags were by the door. "Hey," she said. "You are home early. I took the morning off." Her eyes moved to the bags, then back to me. "What is going on?" "Sit down, Hannah." Her face changed. "Mason, you are scaring me." "What is this?" "Sit down." She lowered herself onto the edge of the chair across from me. She was still wearing her gym clothes. Her hair was pulled back. She set her water bottle on the coffee table and folded her hands in her lap. I placed my phone on the table with the screen facing up and pressed play. The clip ran for about 40 seconds. It showed the 2 of them coming out of the gym, standing by her car, holding each other, and then kissing. Clear as day. She watched the whole thing without moving. When it ended, I picked the phone up again. She finally spoke. "Where did you get that?" "I recorded it." Her eyes narrowed. "You were following me?" "Yes." "You followed me," she said, louder now. "You went behind my back. That is a violation of my privacy. You had no right to do that." I looked at her and said, "Keep going." She stared at me, then tried to steady herself. "There is nothing going on. He is a friend. We work out together." That kiss did not mean anything. It was just. She stopped talking. I held her eyes. "Hannah, I have been sleeping beside you for 5 years. I know what a friendly goodbye looks like. That was not one." She dropped her gaze to the floor and sat there in silence for a few seconds. Then she tried another angle. "All right." I got too close to him. "I know how it looked, but nothing really happened between us. Nothing physical. I swear to you, Mason. I love you. This was our marriage. You cannot just walk out. I am filing for divorce." She stared at me like she had not heard me right. "What?" "I already spoke with a lawyer. I have the video. I have screenshots going back 6 weeks. I have more than enough." "Mason, please," she said. "We can get through this. I made a mistake, and I—" "Stop." That shut her up. I looked right at her and said, "You did not make a mistake. You made a choice. Every morning you drove to that gym, you made a choice. Every night you turned away from me in bed, you made a choice. Do not stand there and call it a mistake now just because you got caught." She swallowed hard, then her voice changed. "I cannot pay the rent by myself. You know that. I cannot afford this place without you." "Call Tyler," I said. "Let him pay for it." Her face twisted. "Are you serious right now?" "I am completely serious. That is his problem now. Not mine." I stood up, picked up both duffel bags, and hooked them over my shoulders. She jumped up from the chair. "Mason, wait. Please. Can we just talk about this? Put the bags down and give me 5 minutes." I walked to the front door, opened it, then turned back one time. "I will be at the office. My attorney will contact you about what happens next. Do not come there, Hannah." Then I left. I put both bags in the trunk, got behind the wheel, and drove without turning on the radio. It was just the road, the line of Douglas fir trees on both sides of the highway, and that flat gray Oregon sky hanging over everything. I reached the office at 1:15. Ethan was finishing a call at his desk when I came in. He looked up, noticed the bags, then looked back at his computer like he had seen nothing at all. That was exactly the kind of man he was, and that was one of the reasons I trusted him. I carried the bags to the back room. It was mostly used for storage, but it had a couch, a small bathroom, and a mini refrigerator. I had slept there before during long deadline stretches, so it was not new to me. It was not exactly comfortable, and it sure was not home, but for the time being it was enough. The divorce took around 4 months from beginning to end. She did not fight it. With the video and everything else I had collected, there was not much room for her to argue. Her lawyer sent over 2 letters. My lawyer answered both. We divided the few things we had together, a shared savings account with less than $3,000 in it, a few pieces of furniture that she kept. The rental was under her name, so I walked away from it without a second thought. I ended up living at the office for a little over a year. The back room slowly turned into something more livable. I bought a Real bed frame. I got a better lamp. I brought in a coffee maker that actually belonged to me instead of the cheap one the building kept in the break area. Ethan figured out my situation during the first week, and he never mentioned it to anyone. I already knew he would keep quiet. A couple of clients who stopped by after hours probably realized what was going on too. Nobody said a word. During that year, I threw myself into work. I brought in 4 new accounts. 2 of them were mid-size businesses that had bounced from one accounting firm to another and were looking for someone dependable. I also hired another full-time employee, a woman named Brooke Turner. She had just finished school, was quick to learn, and sharp in all the right ways. By the 10th month, the office was making more money than it ever had before. The next spring, I bought a house. 3 bedrooms. 1 story. About 20 minutes from the office. It had a decent yard, and best of all, there were no Douglas fir trees crowding the windows and shutting out the light. I closed on it on a Thursday afternoon. After I left the title office, I drove straight over there and sat alone in the empty living room for a while. I had poured some Blantons into a travel cup because I still did not own any furniture. The first thing I unpacked was the Thunderbird. I set it on the windowsill. The Mustang and the Chevelle went on a shelf I built myself that weekend. About 6 months after the divorce was final, I heard through Hannah's sister, who still checked in now and then, that Tyler had moved in with her. That news did not do much for me one way or the other. It was her place and her decision. By then, I was done carrying her choices around in my head. But a few months after that, I heard something else. According to her sister, Tyler had talked Hannah into giving him the money she had managed to save, around $8,000, which was most of what she had. He sold her on some cryptocurrency investment scheme he said he was running with a friend. She sent him the money in 2 separate payments. 2 weeks later, he stopped answering her calls. His phone went straight to voicemail. She drove to the address he had given her, and it turned out to be a UPS store. He was gone. She filed a police report, or at least tried to start something official with the local police department. They took the report and told her those cases were hard to investigate and even harder to prosecute. She never saw the money again. The next month the rent was due, and she did not have enough to cover it. She called her sister for help. Her sister kept her afloat for a while, but it could not last. In the end, Hannah lost the apartment and had to move in with her mother on the other side of town. I heard most of that in pieces over several months. Then one afternoon, while I was at my desk reviewing quarterly reports, I heard raised voices out near the front of the office. A second later, Brooke knocked on my door and opened it. "There is a woman out front asking for you," she said. "She says she knows you, and she is not really accepting no for an answer." Before I could respond, Hannah pushed past her and stepped into the doorway. She looked different. Thinner. Worn down. The matching gym outfits and carefully posed pictures felt like they belonged to somebody from another lifetime. She stood there breathing hard, like she had rehearsed what she wanted to say all the way over and was now losing control of it. "Mason, I know you do not want to see me. I know that. But I did not know where else to go. Tyler took everything. He took my money and disappeared. And I lost the apartment, and now I am staying with my mother, and I have nothing. I have nothing left. And it is my fault. I know it is my fault. I am not here to ask you to take me back. I am not. I did not know what else to do." Then she stopped talking and just stood there waiting. I leaned back in my chair and looked at her for a moment. Then I said, "I am glad you finally saw him for what he was. But you need to leave, Hannah." "Mason." I did not raise my voice. "Brooke will walk you out." That was it. She did not argue anymore. Brooke stepped in beside her and guided her back toward the front. A moment later I heard the office door open, then shut. I turned my head and looked out the window. The sky was clear. No Douglas fir trees blocking the light. No shadows pressing in around the house. Just open sky stretching all the way out to the horizon. And that was the end of it. As for me, I never thought what happened between Hannah and Tyler needed any deeper mystery attached to it. I had seen enough. Maybe it had already gone further than I knew. Maybe it had not. At that point, it did not matter. What mattered was that trust was gone, and once that was gone, there was nothing solid left to save. The way I saw it, she liked the attention. She liked having some younger guy around who made her feel wanted and exciting again. At the same time, she still wanted the steady life I was providing. She wanted both things at once for as long as she could keep them balanced. That only works until the truth shows up. And when it did, everything fell apart. In the end, the man she gambled on turned out to be exactly the kind of man he looked like from the start. He took what he could get, then disappeared. All the excitement, all the vanity, all that thrill of feeling admired again, it burned off fast once real life came due. That was the lesson in it. And whether she admitted it or not, she paid for every one of those choices.